You guys are gonna have to bear with me a little bit on this video because I'm attempting to record with my camera and my phone as a microphone because I didn't want my audio and video to keep being so terrible. But we're gonna see how it goes. But anyway, yeah, let's get started. Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you clicked on this video, I'm sure you're looking into journaling. Maybe you've already started journaling and maybe you haven't found it beneficial, maybe it's not working for you, or you're wondering if it makes any difference at all in your physical or mental well-being. And I'm here to say, look no further, because I've done some research, some scientific research on the best ways to journal and the impact that it has on your mental and physical health. Okay, as a little introduction to journaling, if you're somebody that hasn't started yet or, are kind of wondering like what the differences are between journaling or keeping a diary, they are actually very different. A diary versus a journal is going to be, a journal is a lot more focused on certain aspects of your day, stressors, gratitude, positive thoughts, anything like that, where a diary tends to be more just like talking about your day, which is totally fine as well, but you're not going to get the same benefits from a journal and a diary. Journaling is more as a way, or is used more as a way for people to organize their thoughts, to work through emotions, work through problems. Generally, journaling is done with a pen and paper. I know some people tend to do it with voice recordings, with video recordings, or any sort of stuff like that, but the studies that we look at today are going to show that journaling on pen and paper is actually more beneficial for you than doing the audio or video recordings, but honestly, you can do either way. But yeah, that's just kind of a little introduction to journaling, what people use it for, and just kind of the difference between that and a diary. The sources I looked at were from the Child Mind Institute, Rochester, APA, NHS, and Cambridge. These are all review articles, summaries, analysis of actual studies that happened. The information on all of them and the citations will all be down in the description below if you want to check them out or look or dive deeper and look around a little bit more for yourself, because unfortunately, to fit everything into the video, I am going to have to do summaries of summaries. But I find that these were very cohesive and had, at least a few of them had a lot of different studies or analysis of a lot of different studies put into one. So I find that that is where I was going to get my most information instead of spending a lot of hours looking at study after study after study. And please remember, I am also not a doctor or anything like that. I have just synthesized all of these reviews and studies for your benefit and for you to be able to, for it to be a little more digestible. So please just keep that in mind while you're watching this. This is just to get this information out there in an easier format. And here are some of the statistics from the sources that I was looking at. An analysis from, I'm going to have to look over a little bit while I'm reading this, but an analysis from the NHS was that out of 27 expressive writing programs, 19 showed significant outcomes. Out of 4 programs that did gratitude journaling, 3 showed significant improvements. In the 9 programs that focused on PTSD, 6 showed significant symptom reductions. And most studies fall between small and small to medium Cohen's d effect sizes. If you're in statistics, you know what that means. I just learned that, which that does mean it is promising for future study. And from the analysis from Cambridge, they found improvements in clinical and non-clinical populations. Experiment was people who wrote about traumatic, stressful, emotional events for 15 to 20 minutes on 3 to 5 different occasions. And significant benefits were shown in both objectively assessed tests and self-reported physical health. Even though it is hard to objectively assess this sort of stuff, there was evidence that these benefits really are happening and not just self-reported benefits. I also just wanted to add that the Child Mind Institute also said that there is decades of research backing journaling. But anyway, let's start off with the physical benefits of journaling. This is kind of weird reasoning on why I'm going to start with this one, but I'm actually going to start with this one because it's the shortest and has the least research backing it, and viewer retention. So you guys want to learn how to journal and the mental benefits, and that's later in the video. So, viewer retention, please like and subscribe, guys. I'd really appreciate it. So that's why I'm going to be starting with physical benefits, just because it's kind of the shortest. We'll get it out of the way and then focus on the bigger and more research stuff. And also, I am literally placebo believer number 1. If you give me a sugar pill that says I could turn invisible or fly, you would see me doing some very stupid things because I'd actually believe that I could do it. So even though some of these physical health benefits might not be the best researched, I still think it's important to mention them, because if you are also placebo believer number 1, as I am, you might find that some of these show up just a little bit for you. It might just help in some way. And also, also there is research backing this stuff. Hopefully more research will come out. Okay, one physical health benefit from journaling seemed to be better sleep, which was backed by Cambridge and the Child Mind Institute. The Child Mind Institute analysis says that gratitude journaling ended up with people having deeper sleep, less disruptions while sleeping, and falling asleep faster, which is such an important thing and something that you definitely need as a college student like I am. And this could be due to having a clearer or more positive mind before going to bed, so you're not just laying there kind of worrying about what could be happening or what's going on or all of that stuff, but having that kind of positive before bed, super important, helps with sleep. Also, according to Child Mind, it can boost your immune function, as well as the reduced stress for journaling could lead to more relaxation, leading to lower blood pressure, which will help you with a healthy heart, which is also so important. A lot of people do not focus on their heart health, so journaling, having that lower blood pressure is so important. And someone who is very chronically stressed out, aka me, I really hope this one is true because I am sure my stress is killing me right now, so this would be great if it was true. This is also supported by the Cambridge analysis, which also mentioned a boosted immune system function, reduced blood pressure, as well as fewer hospital visits due to stress, and improved lung function and liver function. Even if these don't have the most scientific backing out of everything in this video, I thought it would be important to mention as it's going to be important for future studies, and I'm sure can get more backing as future studies occur. And it does have some relevant basis, even if it's not completely based in journaling, based in other things that around mindfulness and stuff like that have shown these physical benefits. But now onto the mental benefits. There is a lot, so strap in. Now the list for mental and cognitive benefits is so long, so I'm going to attempt to talk a little quicker, get through this in a timely manner. But if you weren't convinced to journal before, you will definitely be convinced after this list because it is so long, so many benefits, and journaling is so easy. So I recommend it. To start, journaling can improve your mental clarity and resilience. It does this in a multitude of different ways. By processing and organized traumatic or chaotic events, it helps to release pent-up emotion, as well as it will enhance your emotional awareness. It creates clarity by allowing you to identify what your issues are and identify what is causing your emotional distress, while creating clarity on how to control these triggers of like what is causing this stuff. It creates resilience by allowing you to focus on the event that you may have been avoiding or pushing down. This can reduce unwanted avoidant thoughts or intrusive thoughts on the stressful or triggering event, as well as piecing the narrative together or piecing the event together allows you to understand what may have happened in the event and not live in a stressful, like unfragmented version where you're not really understanding what took place. And pasting these fragments together can help you move forward in a constructive manner and a place where you can learn from the event versus feeling stressed out and triggered by it and having to live with those intrusive thoughts and not feeling like you have clarity on the situation or not feeling like you can move past it. Journaling also allows you to have an enhanced mood, reduced stress, reduced anxiety symptoms, and in some cases it will help you cope with depression. By journaling, you can help yourself identify what might be stressing you out, which is actually a big reason that I do it. It helps me collect my thoughts on what is really actually bothering me versus like what is just one thing piling on top of the other, which is quite common, where I think I'm stressed out by a lot of things, but really I'm just stressed out by one thing. Writing about stressful and or negative events can also help decrease the emotional impact of them, lessening the stressors or the anxiety around the event. Yeah, so it'll stress you out less by working through these negative events and decreasing that emotional impact, as the idea is that working through and acknowledging the stress and emotions can help reduce the psychological space that they're taking up in your brain, which will in turn reduce the physiological stress on your body because you won't be focusing on it so much. It also just allows yourself to speak positively on you, which is also another great reason to do it, which is a part of why I do it. It allows you to take that time to speak positively on yourself and identify your negative thoughts or behaviors that are towards your own being. And we should all definitely be speaking way more positively about ourselves, especially in the world that we are in right now. We should be talking positively about ourselves and others. This will also lead to an enhanced mood, of course, because if you're constantly tearing yourself down, you're never really going to feel that great. So it's so important to remember to bring yourself up and bring others up so you feel good, and journaling can allow you to do that. And to list off a few other things that it can help with, there was found to be reduced absences from work, quicker reemployment after job loss, improved working memory, improved sports performance, which is great for somebody that does a sport. And I do find it really helps when I journal specifically about my sport. That can be a separate video. Maybe I'll make another video about journaling specifically about your sport. And it can lead to higher grades, which if nothing else on this list convinced you to journal, which I really hope it did because everything was really important, but higher grades are so great and I'll take anything I can get to get a higher grade. So hey, start journaling if you want better grades, I guess. Which that was actually the one that I found in multiple different studies that these analysis covered was higher grades due to journaling. So there's some good basis and backing for that one. I hope I was able to condense that well enough for you guys so you feel like you have a little bit of a better understanding of the mental benefits for journaling. I totally think all of this makes it worth it to journal. I hope so, at least something in that list made it worth it for you. So if you aren't already journaling, you should definitely start that because we all need a better mood, we all need better sleep, we all need less stress, and if journaling can even slightly improve any of that, I think it's totally worth it. Now onto the reason you clicked on this video. Here are the scientifically backed ways on how to successfully journal. Now these tips were based off of the studies that were conducted, so they haven't covered every way on how to journal, but these are the most beneficial ways in the studies that I looked at that were in these analyses. The first and most, I guess, overarching tip for journaling and kind of the one that was really pushed as very important in a lot of these studies was to have some sort of structure in your journal. Whether the structure is just free writing about your day or specifically listing 3 things that went well or 3 things that you're grateful for or 3 things that, you know, were negative or stressed you out. The studies really pushed the importance of having some sort of structure, even though they also pushed the importance of free writing and feeling like you could just kind of flow through what you were talking about. The way to get the most benefits out of journaling, according to these studies, was basically free writing with structure. So, you know, writing specifically about a certain negative event or a certain stressful event, but being able to just kind of free write through it is just important. You can write without structure, but the ways to, you know, actually clear your mind, focus on something, or get that mental clarity, which I was talking about before, is to focus or have a direction or a focus when you're writing, and then you will get the most benefits out of journaling. You know, kind of being able to free write with some sort of structure is going to get you the most benefits. Like, genuinely, all of these studies pushed so hard to free write with a direction. So that is one of the biggest things that you can do to improve your journaling or see benefits from it. Going along with the last tip, which is having some sort of structure, is to focus on the negative events or traumatic events that happen throughout the day in your lifetime. Doesn't have to just be that day. So how I set up my journal is I focus on a mix of different things. I focus on 3 things that I'm grateful for, 3 positive things that happened that day, and 3 things that I want to fix. Or I guess 3 things that went well and then 3 things I want to fix. And then I also have some free writing space at the bottom. I personally find this is a good mix of, you know, like before we were talking about how gratitude journaling is helpful for sleep and we want to talk positively about ourselves, while focusing on the negative things helps lessen the stressful impact and helps us work through those. So I find this is... Oh, that scared me. And there's people running outside my door screaming. I personally find this is the best way for me to get a mix of both. So I'm not just focusing on one thing or the other. So this helps to keep me motivated by acknowledging what I did well, the things that are going well in my life, the things that I'm grateful for, and it helps me pay attention to the things that I want to fix and not ignore those items and work through them so they stress me out less the next day because I'm not doing those things anymore. The free write space is also just super important. As I was saying before, the studies really push that free write space. I tend to focus on whatever has been having the most emotional impact on me that day, and I think that is a great way to structure it and a great way to do it, especially if you are doing this daily journaling and you want to get into daily journaling. It's just really helpful to let your thoughts flow and create a structure and narrative around the emotions that you're feeling around something that day. It's just important for the understanding of your emotions and how you're going to internalize what happened and work through it, being aware of how emotions are impacting you. And then the next tip, which is one that was also very important in these studies is that the writing should be private, and you should not be worried about anybody seeing this writing. You should not be worried about spelling errors, grammar mistakes, anything like that. The journal is for you and for you only, and studies actually found that when these journals were handed back, it created a lot of adverse effects on the journaling, and they didn't see as many benefits when journals were handed back because people felt they couldn't write as freely. But you, of course, are allowed to share your journal with whoever you like. It's just important that you don't feel like you have to share it with anyone, and that you can write freely and not worry about, oh, someone's going to read this and see a spelling mistake, because you shouldn't have to go back and disrupt the free writing or free flowing words that are coming out because you messed up a spelling or a grammar mistake because you're worried someone else is going to see it. Anyway, it's overall important to remember that this is private. This writing is for you. You will get the most benefits out of it if this writing is solely for you and you only. Then for the last tip for successfully journaling is to make it a habit. The longer that you do this intervention, the better benefits you will see from it and the more benefits that you will see from it. Keeping up with journaling is so important. In all of these studies, they were tested over a longer period of time, whether it was 3 weeks to 8 weeks. It is just so important to keep with journaling to see those better and better benefits, because part of the studies were saying that people actually saw a little bit of negative benefits when they first started out, which is why it might not be feeling super beneficial to you right now. But the longer that you stick with it, the better the outcome will be. This is also the hardest part of journaling, so some of my tips for journaling and making it a habit is to make journaling simple. You do not have to overcomplicate it. You do not have to, fill out 30 boxes that say, I felt like this in this hour of the day, or I felt like this in this minute of the day. I keep my journaling very simple. It's one very small page in a notebook. To be fair, you don't even have to make the lists like I make my list. That's not important. But if that's what works for you, that's what works for you. Your journal is for you. But yeah, so keeping it simple, keeping it easy, not overcomplicating the journal, and making sure you do enough work, but making sure that you don't do it to where it feels like a lot of work. So doing it right before you hit that threshold of, okay, I'm bored, this feels like a lot of work, I don't want to be doing this anymore. Because once you hit that threshold of it feeling like work, you're not going to want to do it anymore. You're not going to want to make it a habit. So it's so important to just make sure you don't hit that threshold so that it doesn't feel like an extra stressor on you. Because the whole point of journaling is to make you feel better and to practice that mindfulness. And if you feel like it's extra work during the day, that's ultimately just going to cause more stress. And make it simple by making it easy. Keep your journal and a pen right next to your bed so that you don't have to get up and go across your room to get it when you're already sitting in bed and you're like, okay, well, now I literally don't even want to get up, and now I have to go journal, and now it's so much extra work, and that, again, that's just going to make it feel like a stressor. So make it easy for you. Keep it on your bedside table with a pen, easy reach, maybe not buried under stuff, just to keep it super, super simple and easy. As I was saying before, the biggest part of journaling is the consistency of journaling, and that is the important part. That is what is going to get you these benefits, so you have to stick with it. Yeah, make it easy to be able to stay consistent with it. And I recommend, if you feel like you have a little bit of trouble forming that habit or doing those things, reading Atomic Habits, I think will give you a lot of great information on how to form these great habits and make it simple, make it easy, all of that sort of stuff. Okay, in this part of the video, I just want to go over some disclaimers or reminders that come with this sort of research. Number one, and probably the most important, is that I am not a doctor, nor am I a researcher. I am a beginning psychology student. I am still in undergrad. I genuinely just find this stuff very interesting. I wanted to do this research for myself, and I just wanted to make it more digestible and easy to understand for you guys so that, people could find these benefits and these tips without having to do the amount of digging or research that I did. Going along with that, this should not replace any sort of medical intervention that you are currently doing. This should not replace a therapist or anything like that. If you don't have a therapist, get a therapist. Everyone needs one. I highly recommend it. There's a lot of conflicting evidence on if this can actually help people with more severe medical conditions. The studies show that this cannot replace going and talking to an actual therapist about these issues. Journaling also is not going to fix all aspects of your lifestyle, obviously. It is not a cure-all. It's just like how if you work out and still eat unhealthy, working out is really not going to do that much for you. If you're journaling but still not practicing mindfulness like meditation or breathing exercise, if you're not eating a healthy diet, getting exercise, getting good sleep, and if you're not staying away from drugs and alcohol, then journaling is virtually going to have no benefits for you because it has to work in conjunction with all of these things. Even though I did have I believe I had 5 different review articles or analyses, the Child Mind Institute one, which I referenced quite a bit, was an ad for a digital journaling app, and I would be a bad student if I didn't say that that is something to think about. So while I don't think that that is necessarily a bad thing because all of these other studies also back up this information, I think it is something to keep in mind. And for all my students out there or anyone that is doing any sort of this type of research, you always want to check if your resources have conflicting ideals or anything like that, or if they have any biases. And lastly, these studies are largely heterogeneous. This just means that they have very mixed results because there's a lot of methodological flaws to this type of research, and while it has been researched for a long time, it has not been researched in depth. So a lot of these studies have very, very different parameters, meaning that we can't really get a straightforward answer on a lot of this stuff. And that's not to say that you should just disregard everything I've said. There is evidence for this sort of stuff. It's just not as backed as like evidence on ibuprofen or evidence on acetaminophen or anything like that, which of course it's not going to be. It's not a drug that we need to research that hard, but it's just something to keep in mind that further research does need to be done on it and further studying does have to happen. So, is there a successful way to journal? Yes and no. Studies do show that focusing on the negative aspects and gratitude are going to be the most beneficial, but these are also just the types of journaling that have had the most studying done on them. What all of these studies have in common is that journaling privately with a structure and making it an easy to do habit is going to get you the most benefits. Again, the studies are a little mixed on how much structure you actually need to have for a journal, but some sort of direction for your journaling, even if it's free writing in a certain direction, is going to give you the most benefits. So I guess now, what are my personal benefits? So I have been journaling for over 80 days, I believe now, consistently at least. I did journal a little bit on and off before, but I have consistently started now. And I would say my personal benefits are that I have a much better recollection of the things that have happened throughout my day. I'm a lot more appreciative of the things that have happened in my days. And I feel like I'm a lot more grounded. And I definitely, at least one of the physical benefits that I notice is I definitely sleep better after journaling. It really helps calm my mind down. But yeah, my biggest personal benefits are definitely the recollection of what's happened. And I'm definitely much more attentive to the things going on in my life and find I can cope with stressors or anxieties a lot easier. Either way, what all the articles concluded is that journaling is not going to be harmful in any way, so why not do it? Really, the only thing that can come from journaling is positive impacts on your mental well-being and your physical well-being. It doesn't cost very much, it doesn't take much time, and if you don't have the resources, or even if you do have the resources, it works very well in conjunction with therapy or other things in your life. So really the only thing that can come from it is positive, so it's totally worth it, even for the small benefits or outcomes. Well, anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's YouTube video. I put quite a bit more effort into this one with all of the research that I had to do this week. I would really appreciate it if you could like, comment, subscribe, maybe comment if you've started journaling, whatever benefits that you have found from journaling, or drop whatever journaling tips you have in the comments, like how you structure your journal. I'm sure other people would love to see it and would love to get some ideas. So either way, I hope you have a great morning, night, midday, afternoon, midnight, whatever time it is where you are when you're watching this. But I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye!